The business environment is changing, and consequently the job of managers, management education, and decision-making. Whilst rationality in decision-making has been emphasized in literature, recent developments have made intuition a prerequisite complementary skill for managers. Thus the purpose of this documentary is to answer the following question. To what extent are rationality and intuition part of managing? Before answering the problem statement with the help of two practicing managers, we need a basic common understanding of what management entails. Let me explain it to you. In essence, management is not a science but a practice. That's why we will concentrate on managing and the managers behind it. Managers, as well as the job of managing, is action-orientated and context-specific. Especially striking about managing is its fragmentation with a lot of different tasks coming up that need to be solved at an unrelenting pace. Managers are acting on three different planes with the manager being at the center of these planes. First, managers act on the information plane by communicating and controlling. Second, taking a step closer to action, managers act on the people plane by leading and linking. Lastly, managers also interact on the action plane by doing on the inside and dealing on the outside. Important to note, however, is that managers should find a balance in these three planes. Now that we have a common understanding of managing, we will explain how managers can manage in different ways and styles. Each manager acts with a different approach in his daily life that fits the environment, resources, and tasks. While explaining the styles, one needs to keep in mind that the managing style is the result of the individual and the environment he is acting in. These styles can be found on the art-craft-science triangle. Art describes the creation of ideas and creative ideas, as well as the integration. Craft brings in the connections and builds on practical learning and experiences. Science describes analysis with systematic evidence. In fact, a balance between all 3 points of the triangle is needed for effective management. As already mentioned, the individual and its working environment determine these styles. But these styles are not telling us enough about the decision-making styles of managers, which is essential for every job. Managers often base their decision either on intuition or on evidence. In the following, two managers will elaborate on how they were educated and how it influenced their decision-making approaches. Mary is managing the sales department of a small company employing 15 people. James is the supervisor of 200 people in a well-known engineering company. Concerning education, the way students are educated has a great impact on how they will practice management and make decisions. Let's explain it with the help of our two managers. The focus of James' education was on evidence-based management, while on the contrary Mary's university acknowledged the limitations of EBM and added intuitive aspects to its curriculum.
My MBA program emphasized scientific evidence from an evidence-based management perspective. Evidence-based management involves harnessing systematic research and translating it into organizational practices. EBM has recently been defined as making decisions through conscientious, explicit and judicious use of the best available evidence from multiple sources by asking, acquiring, appraising, aggregating, applying, and assessing. I have to agree with Erez, who argues that the practice of management is more a matter of learning and knowledge than common sense and intuition. In fact, Pfeffer and Sutton believe that relying on personal experiences is vulnerable to many biases, fleeting fads, dogmas, and false beliefs. Even though it promises to improve managerial decision-making and organizational outcomes, evidence-based management is not a central focus of all education programs. Erez and Grant provide several reasons for this current state. First, researchers may simply not know how to transfer scientific research into the classroom. Second, researchers have the feeling that TBM is too difficult to explain to students who are not trained in research. Third, researchers believe that the findings are too removed from practice and therefore negatively perceived by students.
My MBA program experienced a curriculum redesign and acknowledged the limitations of EBM education. Evidence-based management proponents argue that all organizational problems can be approached with an evidence-based approach. Of course, rational, evidence-based approaches are valuable, but EBM fails to acknowledge many limitations. First of all, EBM defines evidence narrowly and inflexibly, whereas problems in management can always be understood in different ways and from different perspectives. Next, EBM fails to question assumptions and is blind to criticism, whereas students should be encouraged to question and criticize research findings. Moreover, EBM is blind to the value of critical reflection on personal, communal, and intuitive experiences. Continuing to use EBM approaches in management education could lead to several educational consequences. EBM education fails to encourage students to draw upon varied bodies of knowledge and use multiple points of view. Moreover, due to the ignorance of criticism, it will damage EBM's status as the authority on evidence. Recognizing these limitations of EBM education, my university implemented some novel curriculum changes. While rational approaches may teach episteme and techne, my university acknowledged the importance of phronesis by introducing intuition in the classroom. Intuition can be defined as effectively charged judgments arising through rapid, non-conscious, and holistic associations.
Concerning decision-making, in my job, rational processes are particularly valuable for analyzing so-called tame problems. This process consciously analyzes all available options and subsequently decides upon the most promising one. The nature of this decision-making process is to solve problems with the assistance of routines and the use of a clear set of identifiable solutions. Rationality is an objective approach which makes it able to reflect on past performances and pick a single optimal solution for each given problem. There is a broad repertoire of solutions that managers can choose from. In contrast to intuition, rationality is less flawed and less prone to biases. Given the fact that the intuitive process has a bigger emotional connection to the problem, it may raise a gut feeling that an option might not feel right, even though there is no clear explanation for it. In addition, the emotional state of the decision-maker can have a negative impact on the final result in case of stress or a bad mood, which can distort the background of the problem with strong negative feelings.
In my opinion, intuition is a valuable complementary approach to rationality, since today's decision makers are challenged with problems that are tough to describe and have no right solution, commonly referred to as wicked problems. As in the decision-making context, intuition is related to the subconscious mind, also known as System 1. System 1 combines subjective, affective, reflexive and intuitive attributes. This system processes information instantly and subsequently transfers this pre-processed information to the conscious mind. In contrast to System 1, System 2 is rather objective, rational, reflective and analytical. As an illustration, intuitive decision-making has become increasingly important in the hiring of new employees. According to Burke and Miller, about 40% of the hiring process is influenced by intuitive decision-making. Due to our globalized and rapidly changing business environment, managerial decisions need to be taken instantly, and most of the times there is no time for an analytical weighing of alternative options. This fits exactly to the nature in which intuitive decision-making is most common, namely in a context of uniqueness that creates a high level of uncertainty.
Coming back to our question, to what extent are rationality and intuition part of managing? Every manager has a personal managing and decision-making style. How they are educated is often the cause of whether they approach managing in a rational or intuitive way. As we saw throughout the documentary, a balance between both approaches is needed in order to manage effectively in our changing business environment.